Oh, I just love this hat. It's so cute. Ah. Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be making some hats and mittens that I think will make really sweet gifts, and I'm going to be making them from old sweaters. So anybody that's on your list that appreciates sustainable fashion, I think they will love a gift of an upcycled sweater that's been turned into hats and mittens, especially for them. So I'm going to try my hand at making a beret, a slouchy toque, a more snugly fitted beanie, and a pair of mittens. And I'm going to try the mittens in a way I've never done before. Have you ever tried just tracing your hand out and cut that out? It does not make a very satisfying mitten, does it? So I'm going to try to find a way to make the thumb make sense, but in a pretty easy, straightforward way. And I think it'll make some cute mittens. For the small little beanie cap, I'm actually going to be lining that one in a silky fabric because I had a special request from a viewer in Alberta where they have very cold winters. So this viewer has to wear a toque, but she has curly hair. And so she said that the toque is ruining her curls. And so she asked, how can you line a toque with satin? And I don't know, I've never done that, but I'm gonna figure it out today and hopefully get it in a really simple way that you can line any hat with a satiny fabric to protect your curls. But the first thing I want to start with is something that I think could be a total upcycling game changer. I had another request, this one coming from a company asking me to do an honest review of their product. Now, hold on, I have never done any kind of affiliate sponsorships before because the ones that I get offered, they have nothing to do with what I do here on my channel. I've had offers to do fast fashion, which is completely the opposite of what I do. Jewelry, handbags, a barbecue, a chainsaw. I literally got an email to do a sponsorship for a chainsaw. I told my husband that and he laughed and he said, they must have misread the name of your channel. They must have thought it was Catherine Saws. No, it's Catherine Saws. I don't know anything about chainsaws. Anyway, this product that I've been asked to give an honest review of is the Ranvoo sweater shaver or lint remover. So this is the GOGOLint from Ranvoo. And the GOGOLint is pretty impressive looking. I haven't tried it out yet. I just took it out of the box to charge it. It's a rechargeable battery. There's no batteries in it. So that's pretty awesome. It's got these two shaving heads. If this works and if it does a good job, then this really opens up the world of thrifting then, right? Because my rule is always, if it's pilly and tired looking, I'm not gonna buy it because I've never found a great way to deal with that. I had a sweater shaver years ago. It really did nothing. And so I just always avoid sweaters like that. But this time, because I knew I wanted to try out this product to show you, when I was thrifting for sweaters, I looked specifically for something like this that's super linty, like full of all those little pills. Who else is going to buy that except a very optimistic upcycler? That would have headed for the landfill for sure. But it was cheaper than some of the other sweaters that I've purchased because it looks kind of like the dog's breakfast. So hopefully I'll be able to get it looking good with this Ranvoo shaver. But I wanted to compare it because I haven't used a sweater shaver for years because I just thought they don't work. So I bought another one off Amazon as well. They're both available through Amazon. And this one, the Garster fabric shaver. This is what kind of I thought fabric shavers looked like, where it has just the one little head. And this one has 3 blades. This one has 2 heads that each have 6 blades, so 12 versus 3. I'm already thinking this one has to be better, but it is more expensive. If it works and helps to maintain your clothes, make your clothes last longer, look better, then it's worth the price. If it doesn't do a good job, then it's not worth the price, and I will let you know. And if it's good, I'll give you a link to get this at a discount. So let's give it a try. So first, the one from Amazon. It's kind of a cute little thing. It's got a little window there so you can see the lint piling up. It's got the one head. It's rechargeable too, which I liked. And so let's give it a shot. I'm blocking off a 6-inch section and trying to write an A for Amazon. And over here, this is the GOGOLint. 6-inch section, 30 seconds each. Let's go. Okay.
30 seconds, counting down.
So let's check out both sections now. Here is the Amazon. Still not good. Like, it doesn't look much better. I'm sorry. Like, I still wouldn't wear that. Wow, I didn't think it would be that much different. That is actually amazing. Awesome. Like, that is a big difference. I hope you can see the difference, right? If it wasn't good, I would not say it's good. I'm not going to try to sell you a chainsaw or a barbecue or a sweater shaper that does not work. This one really does work great, and I'm so happy that I can now buy things that do have that pilly, tired look. No one else is going to be able to save those. I can save them now. If I remove the cap and open them both up, you can see how you're getting what you pay for, right? There's 3 blades on this one, and there are 12 blades on this one. So that is, I think, why GOGOLint does such a better job. The GOGOLint also comes with 2 replacement blades too, so that over time, if these blades do get dull, you just replace them rather than replacing the whole thing. That's the whole point, is to be less wasteful and more sustainable and to stop putting things in the landfill. GOGOLint really does give you a lot more for your money. It also even comes with a nice little carrying case. So I'm gonna get you a promo code to get a discount for it. I'll put it on the screen here, but I'll also leave it in the description box with the link of where you can get one if you want for yourself or for another person who appreciates sustainable fashion and wants to make their clothes last as long as possible and look great as long as possible. So now that I've GOGOLinted the sleeves of this sweater, let's try making some mittens. I'm gonna make it out of the sleeve because I think that the ribbing here will make a nice cuff, but the thumb I'm gonna do differently. I just don't like when you trace your whole hand. It just doesn't work that well. So thumb is toward the seam of the sleeve, and then I'm just gonna trace around my hand like that. I don't know if you can see my line, but I can see it clear enough. So the next thing I did was I made a vertical cut about 1.5 inches in from that thumb side of the mitten where the seam is, and I drew a line about 2.5 inches long and then measured 1 inch across and cut out an oval in that space. So that is basically where the lump of my thumb was. Then I just found another place on the sweater, and this little shape here, like around the mitten, that seems to make a perfect shape. I made a shape that will hopefully fit into that. We'll see if this works. It might take me a few tries to make this work. Yes, already I can see that that thumb is way too long. That seems better. Okay, so this piece is on the fold and it is measuring 5 inches at the longest part. Let's call that 3.5 at the shortest part, and then the angle is 3 inches, and then the width here is 1 3/4 inches. Okay, so in centimeters we've got 13, 9, 7, and 4.5. And in centimeters, this cut is 3 centimeters from the seam, 2.5 centimeters wide in the widest part of the oval, and 7 centimeters long. Alrighty, well that's fun. I'm going to try this out. First I'll sew the thumb. Already though I'm thinking that I shouldn't have made this symmetrical. I should have made this section bigger. So let's try it out and figure it out as we go. So I think I'll sew this with a longer zigzag stitch. Let's try 2 millimeters by 4. Okay, that's still a little long. I'm going to take another 1/2 inch off the end. There. That seems pretty good. I could make it a little less squared off around the top. I'm going to take that corner off. Okay, so I will flip the thumb right side out. Make sure I'm happy with it on the outside. I think that's pretty cute. Do you see what I mean? This is where I think I should have come out more. Okay, let's pop it in and try it on and then decide if that's true. So I'm putting that through right side together with the outside, right? You can see it's going to be like that. And now I think I'm going to just want to baste this in. So I'm going to go back to my straight stitch, but with a long stitch length, and sew around this circle. So the seam is going to go to the top of that opening and the little point is going to come down. But yeah, I already feel like now this is not going to work. I'm going to need to change this up, but I'll just baste it in and we'll see. It's actually pretty great. It's really cute. Okay, so now I can sew the big seam. Yeah, I think I'll just baste the big seam together because I think it might still need some tweaking. We shall see momentarily. As I was coming around, that just seemed way too pointy, so I shaved that off as I was going and then tried to blend into the fold here so that it smooths off that curve. Okay, let's try this out. I like the length of it though with this long ribbing. I like that. That is nice. My oval should come over more onto the palm. And then this piece, yes, definitely I would like to, like it's stretching here. So I don't want to just increase it by that. I want to increase it by a little bit more than this amount so that it doesn't have to stretch across so much. And this area could be smaller, right? This whole part around the fingers feels good, and the thumb just has a funny point on it. I just would want to curve that in more. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. It's sort of funny that the thumb sticks right up. I think once I extend this out, I don't know, maybe the thumb will lay nicer. Good. Well, this is fun. I'm having a good time with this. Okay, so I'm glad I just basted that in, because now I can pull that thread out and see what I've got. For one side, I want to cut it there, but for the other side, I want to add in like a full inch coming around like that. So let's see what that looks like. I'm trying not to cut into the cowl here because I want to use that for a toque. It's this side that I still want to be small. Okay, what the heck kind of shape is that? That does seem like it'll work better. Let's give it a try. And again, it's a bit pointy on the thumb, so I'm going to come down, curve around there. That's on the fold. I'm coming into that fold a little bit. There, that's pretty good. Okay, I can flip that right side out. It makes a nice curved thumb instead of a pointy thumb. And then that hole, I'm just going to get that a little bit wider on both sides. So I'm coming in closer to the seam side. So now it's only 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters from the seam side, and the total width is 1 3/4 inches or 4.5 centimeters. With the thumb right side out now, I'm going to stick it back inside that hole. The long part comes down, the little seam goes up, a couple clips, and then sew around that circle. Okay, let's try that. Oh, I think that's got it. I think that's got it. It's super cute. Now I'm really happy with that mitten. Look how that thumb sits nicely, and it's really cute and fun to wear, and I'm just loving it. It's so cute. You could go skinnier at the wrist. You could even put elastic at the wrist if you wanted, but this long cuff just makes it feel so cozy. I love it. Now that that's sewn in, now I want to make a pattern out of it to commit that to paper for the next mitten. First, I'm just going to draw the fold. There's my curve of the thumb. This came down like that on one side, but on the other side, I swung it out, right? I swung it out a good like 1/2 inch. So that is more or less my thumb shape. Mitten, thumb, cut 2. So I can make my second mitten here now. And I can go over all of these seams with that zigzag stitch. This one is still just all basted together. Maybe I should make a template of that opening too. That might be smart. So it's sitting 1 inch from the edge. Yeah, I think I'll just call it 1.5 inches wide, 3 inches, 7.5 centimeters long. And I might just fold that in the center too, just to get that opening symmetrical. I'll call that the thumb side seam. The ribbing starts just a smidge below that. This is the ribbing edge. So that's going to help me with making all future mittens. So I want to make sure I have a right and a left with my mittens. I'll put the 2 seams toward the center. So this is the edge that goes to that thumb side. This line is where my ribbing is. So it's upside down now. That's not super helpful for you. This is my friction marker, which to me is a must-have sewing tool. I hardly ever do a project where I'm not pulling out one of these, right? And of course, a link is in the description to this and to my scissors and to my see-through ruler. These are all my favorite tools. So I could put this on a single layer somewhere, but I think the way this sweater is situated, it's going to be easier for me to just cut it on the fold. And then I have to figure out which side to trim down so that I end up with my right and left. I want it this way with the skinnier piece going to the side, the fatter piece going toward the palm, correct? Alrighty, that's going to go in like that. Same thing. So now I'm starting blending into that fold, kind of the same way I did on the hand part of the mitten. And then there's the thumb opening. My thumb goes right side out into that opening, the seam to the top, bottom to the bottom, couple clips. Good. And then around that big seam, just closing it up. And I think that's it. Now for the toque. So I'm taking my 2 pieces of computer paper and just butting them together and taping them together. This direction is 11. This is the 8.5 inch paper, but I don't need the full length. I'm going to cut it off at 12 inches. So now I have a piece of paper that's 11 by 12. So you can make this bigger or smaller, but 12 inches gives you 24 inches around, which is a pretty good average head size for an adult. And also take into account how stretchy your fabric is. It's kind of a big average for women, small average for men. So now along the 12-inch side, I'm going to draw another line that's 1/4 inch from the edge. And then I take my long edge, fold it into that line. Fold again, so I've got it now into quarters coming up to that 1/4 inch line. So with it folded like that, I want to mark down 3 inches from the top and make a dot there. So I'm going to use my curved rule here, and I'm going to make a curve that goes from this corner, passes through that dot there at the 3 inches down, and then continues off the edge. So just like that is going to be fine. And then with it still all folded, I'll cut right on that line. This is our pattern. This is the lengthwise grain. For this toque, I'm going to use the big cowl neck from this sweater. And so I want the grain line to go parallel to the lines of the knit, right? So it's going to go that way. The opposite direction is the direction of maximum stretch. Okay. So this side with the extra 1/4 inch, that's a seam. But this side where there's no seam allowance, this one we're going to want to place on fold. Get that right into that corner as best I can. I do have this flare. That's, I think, going to be just fine though. So now I'm not cutting the fold, I'm cutting everything else. Now you can see looking at this that this is like a pretty big hat. So it is sort of soft and slouchy. If you wanted a snugger hat, you could definitely make the whole thing more narrow. So instead of the 11 inches, you could go 10 inches or 9 inches. Or if it's for a child, you can go really small. But then you would still do the same. Fold up to your 1/4 inch, fold, and make that curve at the top. I think I'll be having this fold up probably about that much. That gives me a 3 inch cuff. I want to sew just until about halfway along that cuff. So I'm just going to sew this little bit here and then down to there. No problem. Let's go to the machine. So I'm starting at the folded edge and I want to blend from that fold into my seam allowance here. So I want to start almost vertically so I get a nice blend instead of a funny looking point there. And I'm using a zigzag stitch. Now when you're starting off on an edge like that, sometimes you have to help it out a little bit, give it a little nudge. When I get to the end of that little section, I can just feed in the next section. This is the long edge that I'm just going to be doing about half of. Well, I guess I'm about 5 inches from the bottom, and I'll end with a little back tack. And now I just want to flip my seam allowance to come out now. If your knit is like at all stiff, you might have to snip that, but mine is just turning easily. And I think I'll start at the bottom now and come up and meet where I left off, just because I want to make sure these bottom edges are just nailed together. It's good to hold the threads when you think you're going to need to help it along a little bit. Just hold your threads for the first couple stitches, just so you can tug if needed. And then pick them up again after your back tack. So as my seam allowance comes out here, I'm just going to be ending right kind of at the same point that I left off from the inside. Okay, that is nice. Okay, and there's my little join. Snip that apart. So this V in the center is the only part that isn't sewn yet. So I'm just going to take it this way and bring it together, and that's just the top of the hat. So now you just sew those edges together. If you want to, you can insert a pom-pom in here and the little string sticking out where your seams to come together. I think I'm going to do this one with no pom-pom. So again, I'm going to start almost vertically and then come into my seam allowance here. And I'm not stretching as I sew. I could really stretch this out a lot, and I think the seam would go kind of funny and wiggly on me, so I'm not stretching as I sew. And now I want to end almost vertically so that I'm blending into that fold nicely. And you know what? That is it. That is it for the sewing of this little hat. How cute. So here's the hat still inside out. There's where the seam changes, but when we flip it right side out, that's going to be good. I'm just thinking maybe I'll give those seams a little bit of a press on a tailor's hem because I want to build in that curve. On my last sweater video, a few people commented saying, oh, I never iron my sweaters. And I thought, really? Because I do it all the time. And I've never had any problem, never damaged a sweater. Have to make sure your heat's not too high. Use lots of steam. But generally, sweaters press nicely, like especially if they do have some wool, they are very moldable. But I looked on some knitting websites and they said the same thing, not to press knits. And I don't know, I mean, I had training in a high-end fashion store where we produced a lot of knits for evening wear, and we pressed all of them. Never had any problems. The clothing we used to sell in that store was thousands of dollars. That's where I worked with the Italian seamstresses. So it was high-end stuff, and yeah, we pressed it. So now this is where my cuff is going to turn back, and that is adorable, right? That hat with the mittens, that's an adorable gift. That's so cute, right? Alrighty, one gift done, yay! Okay, so the first toque and mittens are done, and I think that just makes an adorable gift. They're so much fun to wear. I feel so cozy, and I would be so touched if somebody made a hat and mittens for me. So it's completely sustainable and completely made with love. So I'm thrilled with this, and now I really want to go on to try to make a beret. I've never made a beret before, but I'm gonna give it a try. So when I went thrifting for sweaters, I specifically looked for one that had a crew neck like this, where the neckband just fit around my head nicely, just comfortably, because that is going to be the band of the beret. And so all I need to do is cut about 2 inches around that whole neckline. That'll be the bottom side of the beret, and then from the back or front, I just need to cut one big circle for the top of the beret. So that's, I think, gonna be dead easy. I think if I just put my 2-inch ruler right up against that neckband and draw all the way around like that, that'll give me the underside of the beret. And then I'll just need to cut a circle the same size as that for the upper side. And then just sew the 2 circles together, Bob's your uncle. And then I'm just gonna cut on that line all the way around. So that's my circle for the beret. I think that's a good size. And I'm just cutting through one layer, which is a smidgy bit awkward. I don't really want to cut into the knit in a place that I don't have to, because who knows what other fabulous gifts I'll be making from those areas. So I'm trying to keep that whole ribbing intact, just because you never know. So now I need to flip those. I should have probably cut this upside down on the sweater so that they were automatically right side together, but this will do. All right, so look at that, is literally, that's so easy. All I'm gonna do is sew around that outside edge, and then I have a beret. I might play around with some fun way of getting a little loop in the middle, the way berets have, but at this point, let's just sew around the outside. I think I'll use that long stretched out zigzag to go around these edges. I think I'll just run the edge of my presser foot around the edge of the knit. It's sort of straying a little too close to the edge. What I think I'll do is I'll finish going around like that, but I might do a second row a little further in. And I could remove those tags or leave them. They're not gonna be in the way at all. So I'm gonna just try it on, make sure I'm happy before I do that second row. I think it's cute. I'm not 100% sure at this point if it's cute. I need to do some good pressing around the edge because it's making little funny peaks. But you know what? Having the label still on is kind of good because I think that does work better as the back. Oh, kind of went off there, got distracted. Okay, I'll take it to the iron. So all of these wiggly bits I think will press flat. So I use a light touch and lots of steam. And then kind of let it cool for a second. And then I'm gonna flip it right side out. And then if I sort of drag my finger along that seam on the inside to get that seam to come out right to the edge and make a nice curve shape. Hopefully I can get rid of any little corners or pointy bits. Okay, it's pretty cute. So now I want to see if I can make a little loop to stick out of the top. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a cute little loop. All right, let's see if I can poke that through the middle of the beret. That'll be cute. So to find the middle, I'm going to go in half and in half again. There's my middle. And I think I'll just mark that with a pin. So this knit is loose enough that I can almost just take my little pokey outy bit and pokey it outy here. Good, and it's just little, right? The part that sticks up in a beret is just little like that. So that I think is quite cute. Alrighty. And then on the inside, I'll just, with a needle and thread, I'll just stitch these ends down to secure that. That'll be nice. So maybe just about 1/2 inch on each side. And then I'll trim off the extra. Good. So the inside just looks like that, and the outside looks like this. That is cute. Oh my goodness, so that was so fast, and how fun is that? It's kind of crazy, but it's super fun. I love the little pokey outy bit. That's so cute. This, I think, was a good trial run, but for myself, I want to try the more elegant, darker fabric out of this sweater. So this one has the V-neck though, so I won't be able to do this little trick, which I gotta say, I really like just using the neckline of a crew neck sweater for the inside circle of the beret. Like that just worked out great. But for this one, I've got the V-neck, so I'll be using the bottom ribbing, and hopefully that works. We'll see. But this is, it just can't get any faster than that, and it's pretty cute. So let's move on to that darker one. Okay, so I think that the size of this beret is pretty good, but I want it to be a perfect circle for this one, and it is a little wonked out. So I grabbed the dinner plate, and it's just about the exact same size. So I will use that as my template. This is an 11.5 inch dinner plate. I want to preserve the ribbing, just leave seam allowance above the ribbing like that. And just tracing around with my little scrap of soap. And this time I will cut through both layers. I want 2 circles. Beautiful. A 2-inch band, and then it'll have the strip of ribbing. So 2 inches on either side. That means I now need a 7-inch circle in the middle of one of my circles. So I'm going to go find a 7-inch plate. Oh my goodness, it's like as if my dish set was made for making berets. This plate is exactly 7 inches, so that is just lucky. So I'm going to take away one of the circles and then center this and trace my 7-inch circle onto there. But I'm just going to rough in some seam allowance there just to be safe. A 6-inch dinner plate would have been even better. So now my 2 circles are going to go right side together, and I think I should try to keep the lines matched up as much as I can, right? Okay, let's go to the machine with that. I'm going to try on this one to just do it on the serger and see how that goes. I'm hoping for the seams to be a little smoother, a little less wonky. I'm going to try to not cut off anything and just serge right along the edge. I have to say it's much better. It's really so much better. Like the seams are just smooth and not all kooky and wonky. But that could also be that it's a more stable knit. That might be another key. Back to the cutting table because we had to figure out that ribbing. I want to measure the edge of that inner circle. And I'm sure a mathematician could figure that out with the pi r squared or whatever. But I'm getting 11 inches on the fold, so 22 inches around. Now this ribbing should have to stretch a little bit to meet that. I want to just gently stretch to 11 inches, and I would say that comfortably stretched is there. That would be my 11-inch mark there, plus seam allowance. Okay, and I don't think I want the whole depth of it. I think I only want about 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters showing, and so I'd want to cut about 1.5 inches in the depth there. So first, I think I'm just going to cut through one layer at a time because I want to be in line with the ribs of the knit. There and here, good, and then 1.5 inches in depth. So if I put my 1/2 inch line on the edge and then just shift this along, there we go. Right, that looks pretty good. So then right sides together, I'm just going to serge that little edge. And if you know, you know, I'm going to do my little trick at the finished edge there and then serge it to the bottom of the beret. I think what I'll do is start at the raw edge and just go until my needles clear the edge, and then needles up, lift up, wiggle, wiggle, and flip, and then come back in the other way. So that gives me a nicely finished end with no serger tail there. So this is already marked in half with the 2 seams. With those seams together, I'll just mark the halfway point here and the halfway point there. So it's like marking north, south, east, and west. So that would be like north and south. Bring those 2 points together for east and west. 2 pieces right side together, lined up nice like that. And then I just serge around that circle. Bob your uncle. And just overlap where I started and then chain off. And now, instead of pressing it flat like I did the first one, I think I'm going to try to just press it on the tailor's ham all around like that and see if that works better. So when I've got it inside out, I want to push the seam allowance all in the same direction. That's going to make a big difference in how wiggly the seam looks or doesn't look on the outside. So I think I'll push the seam allowance down toward the bottom edge. And if I'm consistent like that, pushing the seam allowance down the whole way around, that's going to make a nice difference in making that seam look less wiggly. Oh, that looks good. Look how nice that seam looks now. Oh, yes, that is nice. Okay, decision time. Do I do a little sticky outie? Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, this is so much nicer than the first one. Oh, perseverance pays off again. Yay. Oh, how about if I just take the edge of the ribbing like that, so it's got the black on the end. Oh, that's cute, right? Okay, let's do that. This knit is much tighter than the other. Like, I can't poke that through. So I'm gonna have to hand sew that on. No big problem though, that'll be worth it. But I think only like not even an inch long. Cute. So I folded in half and in half again to mark the center with a pin. Now I've got my teeny little piece. It's like not even an inch square. And I think I'll start by hiding my knot inside the top edge and then wrap that in, and then just little tiny hand stitches down that edge. And I am just wrapping one raw edge over. You know, it is a raw edge out here on this outside edge. So my thread's getting tangly, so I'm just going to rub it along the edge of the soap like that, and then it's not going to be so tangly. Okay, lovely. My little sticky outy bit is ready to go on. And that's why I started at the top, so my thread would be ready at the bottom edge here. I'm just gonna sort of stitch around, I think. A little awkward, where I wish I had 3 hands. And then I'm just catching the loops, do you know what I mean? Sticking my needle in the hat and then trying to catch the looped yarns of the sticky outy piece. Oh my goodness, that is cute, right? So wherever the loop still looks fuzzy or loopy, I'll still go around this circle one more time and just make sure I'm catching all those little loops in. I'll just bring my needle onto the back and just tie my knot back here. A little stitch, put my needle back through the loop, pull that tight, do that one more time, and then I can cut my thread. Perfect. Alrighty, so this one is done. That is so cute. Awesome. Right? Mais oui, this is so French looking and so cute and chic. I love this one. I had to change my sweater because this hat does not go with this sweater, but it's so pretty with this, isn't it? Like, I just feel like, oh, I feel so French. So I love this one, and that's, you know what, that was almost as easy as using the crew neck. Like just using the ribbing at the bottom instead, that was no problem. And I love the little thing at the top, the little sticky outy bit is so cute. So I am thrilled with this one. I would be thrilled to get this as a gift, and I'm going to be happy to give this as a gift, or maybe keep this one for myself because I love this one. Oh, that's cute, right? Oh, cute. Okay. So now what's next, Catherine? I did promise to make a beanie and to line it. I have a lot of sweater pieces left. Which one should I make the beanie from? Here is just one piece of computer paper, and I want this to end up being 20 inches total. So that means I want 10 inches on the fold. So it's 8.5 by 11 paper. So I'll just take 1 inch off one end. And then I'm also going to mark over 1/4 inch for that little seam at the center back. Good. All right. So I'll go there, fold, and fold again. Okay. So I want to come right into the top edge from the top 2.5 inches down. I'm going to say about like that. That looks good to me. So this edge that has that 1/4 inch, that's the seam. And the edge that doesn't have the extra 1/4 inch, this is the fold. Place on fold. Good. So now I can take this one that has a bit of ribbing and place that. Oh, that's going to fit perfectly there now. Okay. It still has its full sleeve, so I can easily make mittens here. The ribbing is a little shorter, so it won't be the long ones like I had before, but that is probably maybe better to not have such long mittens. Anyway, that sweater still has lots of potential there. So again, flip to be right side together. And now this one, I won't be turning the cuff back. It'll just be a ribbed edge. So on this one, I'll be sewing that little bit, and then from that top edge down. And then we do in the center. I'm going to start from that fold, nicely blended, and then come up into the curve. And again, you're going to have to tug on your threads a little bit to help it at the beginning. So I'm just going to come up to what looks like the halfway point, and then skip right over to what looks like the halfway point on this side. And so then again, it's only that V that isn't sewn yet. So I'll take that V this way and sew right across the whole top edge. Oh, I wonder if I should try for a pom-pom here. Oh, I'll try. To make a sort of pom-pom, not really. I'm just pulling a yarn off the top and I'm breaking it at each seam because I'm not trying to knit this together. So I don't mind if I have shorter pieces. So I'm just trying to get into one of the colors. Just pull a piece off, maybe one more. I've got about 10 strands there, and I'm just going to take it over my hand and wrap a few times. Okay, so I'll take it off my hand. I'll pass another piece of yarn through and tie that tight. These two bits of yarn are going to get sewn into the hat. Everything else here is going to get cut. Well, it's more of a tassel than a pom-pom, but it's kind of cute. But I'm going to strengthen this yarn that I'm going to be sewing in there by taking those 2 yarns that I just wrapped around to make the tassel. I'll catch these into this little knot, and then at least I've got 4 threads that I'm sewing into the hat, or 4 yarns. So now, before I sew this closed, I'll stick my little tassel inside. Just try to catch those threads in that seam, or catch these yarns. They're not threads, Catherine, they are yarns. And I think that'll be cute. Let's see how this goes. If I squish everything flat, hopefully I can sew close enough into that tassel. There are all my yarns that are getting caught in. Maybe I'll do a little back tack right on top of those. Good. And by going to that side. And I think I'll feel better about it if I just tie all this yarn into a knot. Pull that knot right down toward the hat before I cut these off. And then this little hat is done. There's the tassel. That's pretty darn cute, you have to admit. Okay, cute. The little tassel I think actually turned out cute, but it's kind of just like the first two. It's too big. So if I want it to be a snugger fitting beanie, then I need to either fold up that cuff, which is fine, except I've sewn the seam the wrong way. I'll have to just flip that in. But for the next one, I'm just gonna take another inch off the bottom of the pattern and just make it a little shorter so that it hugs the head more. And that's the one I'm gonna line. Finally, get to the lined one. Okay, let's go. For the closer fitting one, out of the dark sweater, I'm not going to be using any ribbing. I'm going to be folding up the edge to make a little hem. So that means that this pattern is probably exactly right. I don't think I have to adjust it at all in terms of the length. It'll already get a little closer just from that little hem. I just want to show you how you can turn this into 4 pieces that sew together quite easily so that you can really use up small scraps. What I need is seam allowance on this edge as well. So I already have the seam allowance here. So if I just fold that in half and cut this, so now I've got that little extension of seam allowance on both sides. So if I cut 4 like this, then I can really use small pieces of knit and really maximize what I've got. So 2 like this. And I am going to just cut in a little point at the top there just to make the center more visible. And a second one, and I'll try to match up the plaid a little bit. I think that more or less matches. Okay, and then I promised I would do lining. So this is a silky knit, which I think would be nice if you have curly hair. I think would protect your curls and solve the problem. So again, I have to keep in mind the direction of maximum stretch. The hat is going to fold up 1 inch. The lining, I want it to meet that fold and then have some seam allowance. So it should come down a good 1/2 inch past this point, right? So 1/2 inch there. I'll take off 1.5 inches off the bottom edge. Good. So out of my silky knit, now I just want to cut 4 pieces like that. This is a little raggedy there. It looks like I'm wasting fabric, but just like you, I hate wasting fabric, so I am doing that on purpose. About like that will do. Okay. And then again, I built that little point in this time just to make that easier to see. And now I can take all of this to the serger. So now I'm just going to serge my pieces together from that peak all the way to the bottom. And the next pair. Then I can open up this one and put them right sides together. Match up the 2 seams at the top. Clip those, and here we go again. All the way from one bottom edge through where the seams meet and all the way to the other bottom edge. I'm just going to slip that on and make sure I'm happy with the shape before I sew the lining. And I'm going to serge the lining pieces, except that I'm going to leave a gap in one of the seams. So I'll start at the bottom. This is the sort of up and over seam. I'll serge maybe a couple inches and then chain off and hop over and leave a gap. I don't want the gap to be where the seams meet, so I'll come right back on there. So that's all together with that gap. That'll be good. And now there's the bottom circle of the beanie, and I'm going to put that right side together with the bottom circle of the lining. Clip seam to seam in all 4 places, and then I'll serge around this circle and then turn it right side out through that gap. So I'll overlap where I started and then chain off. Okay, so that's nice and neat. That little gap now, I'll just pull the whole thing out through there. And then I'm going to stick with that zigzag that I've been using because that stitch has a bit of stretch built into it. I do want to stretch as I go, sew up that gap. If I stick with the zigzag stitch, I think it's easier to just go over the folded edge. That is going to do. Okay, so there's the lined beanie. It's nice and close fitting now. It really hugs my head nicely. It is nice to have the lining in there. It does make it feel a little bit more luxurious. It's not my favorite, though. You know which one's my favorite. You just can't beat it. I love this hat. I think I'm gonna wear it while I eat dinner. It's just so cute. This has been so much fun playing around with different ways of making hats and mittens. I hope it gave you some great ideas for beautiful gifts that you can make for any sustainability minded person on your gift list. And so I really hope you had fun with that. I had a blast today. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being along with me right to the end. I really, really appreciate it. And until next time on Catherine Sews, you take care.